Hey everyone, Tim Schofield here, and every year I make a new PC build video and I have all the parts ready to go behind me, but this year is going to be just a little bit different. Big thanks to AliExpress for sponsoring this video and sending most of the parts and even some peripherals as well for this build video. Now it's a little bit different because normally I'll do top of the line, high end everything, but we're gonna be a little more budget conscious on this one and do more of 1440p gaming and actually have parts that are more in a budget price range. Now AliExpress has their Singles Day promotion with a ton of different products on sale and even some coupons that we'll talk about in this video. I will link to everything down below and give you some coupon codes as well. But for now, let's dive into the build. We'll talk about some of the parts that we're gonna be using and then even do some testing on this build as well. Let's get started. To begin, we will be using the Maxon Z790M Terminator motherboard. Again, AliExpress sent this over, but this will be with an Intel i5 chip plus the GeForce RTX 4060 Ti. And for Singles Day on the AliExpress site, using their discount codes, you can get this GPU for $375. Again, I will link to all of those bonuses and the parts in the description. Inside our box, there is the GPU in that packaging, so it doesn't have any static for it. For our motherboard, again, same thing. It's all packaged up nicely, looking good. Normally, I like to install some things on the motherboard first before we screw it into our case. For the storage and RAM, we have an XPG SSD at 2 terabytes, and you have a stick of Kingston Fury DDR4 RAM, both sent from AliExpress. There's a lot of different options there. So we're gonna actually need to use DDR5 RAM, so I do have a stick of that as well. For our SSD, it's nice it comes with more of a heatsink cover that you can peel this plastic off and attach to it. However, it's nice that it's separate because some motherboards, like this one, will actually have it on the back of a plate. Just make sure you do peel the plastic off the top of it before you install it. So let's put our M.2 drive into the slot. Just put the plate back on and screw the screws in. Like I mentioned, Intel Core i5-12600K for the build. If you look on your processor, there's usually a little arrow, and there's usually an arrow right here where you're going to place it. Just make sure you find it. Now don't slide it, just sort of drop it into place. Make sure it's a little bit secure, and that is it. Then we can close this, line them up, and make sure it latches on. There we go. Our CPU is installed. For our GPU, I usually wait until it's in the case to install it, but we can put our fan on top of the CPU. All right, I have a back plate on the motherboard. I have my screws in place. Here is the cooler. We're gonna need to peel this bottom off before using, and then use some thermal paste on top of the CPU. All right, so what I always like to do is put a little dot in the middle, maybe one somewhat towards the outside. It doesn't need to be any specific design. It's whatever you think. Just don't put too much or too little. You just got to kind of figure out the right amount. So that's about how much I usually use. All right, moment of truth. Let's get it installed. Just sort of line it up with the spacers so that it will slide in on all 4 corners, because then we're going to need to screw it in on the top. All right, and just sort of press down, give it a little bit of a push so that it is in contact with the CPU. It's time to start putting things into the case. We're gonna be using the Height Y40 for this build, which is only $150. This has 4-slot vertical graphics, tempered glass, and more, so excited to start putting things into the case. I do like the style of this. It does come with a couple fans and also comes in different colors if you're interested. On the inside of the case, you can see that vertical GPU mount. I also love the amount of space there is for cable management. So we're gonna get the motherboard installed. There's also a couple slots for some extra case fans. And down at the bottom has some filters, some grip, and these filters can just slide off. Quick note, down at the bottom is where one of the fans are, plus all of our connectors for the front panel, etc. All right, you'll see we have our motherboard all installed and ready to go. It's time to get some power. So here's the PSU. We'll be using the Corsair RM750E. Just a quick look at it, nothing too fancy, and all of our connectors. It also does have a fan built into it. Power supply is all ready to go. What I usually do is install the motherboard cable, PCI Express cables, attach it to it before I screw in the PSU, so just a little tip there. All right, the build's starting to look really clean. Just put the motherboard in with everything installed. I still need to put the RAM in. And like I said, this is a vertical GPU mount, so you'll just plug this into the PCI Express slot, and then down at the bottom is where you actually will connect your GPU. All right, our clean black and white build is just about done. I have all the connections, motherboard, the USB connection, the front headers. I even installed a couple case fans right here on the right side. So, two things left. First of all, the RAM and the graphics card. For the graphics card, let's put the connector in the PCI Express slot. Make sure it's secure and screw it in. And here it is, the RTX 4060 Ti, which has 3 fans. Here's just a quick look at all the connections. You've got 3 DisplayPort and 1 HDMI port. We can get it installed now. Same sort of process, just line it up and slide it in. Make sure it snaps in place. I did have to take out a couple of these spacers here on the left to make room for it, and now I can screw it in from the left side. But it's all connected and ready to go. And last but not least, installing our RAM, really easy. Just snap it into our motherboard. Before we get the panels on, a quick look at the inside. It looks pretty clean with that black and white look. I also want to point out AliExpress sent over the peripherals. We'll be using that Cherry keyboard and the Logitech Pro super light mouse to game with. All right, the moment of truth. I just plugged it in. Let's turn it on for the first time. Lighting up, fans are spinning. Looks like the motherboard lights are going. I do have the peel. I still have to peel this off though. This is gonna be very satisfying to peel off now that we booted it up. Let's get it connected to a monitor. Okay, I'm a little too impatient. Let's peel this off. Nice. Don't forget to peel the front panel. There we go. All right, let's get it connected to a monitor. All right, plugged in my new Cherry keyboard. We'll take a closer look at that in just a second, but got into the BIOS. We just need to install Windows and I'll be back. Just a closer look at that Cherry MX 2.0S with black switches overall. I really like having a number pad. As just a quick little test. More of a sound test. Worth pointing out, you can completely change the colors with spectrum breathing or on a key-to-key basis. Going into settings will change the polling rate all the way up to 1000 hertz and the brightness of the RGB lights. And of course, you need a mouse as well with the Logitech Pro Superlight. Again, you can pick it up at AliExpress. I will link to it down in the description below. Opening the box, there it is in white. It looks really clean. Inside the box, you get your booklets, some grips for the mouse. You've got your USB Type A to micro USB cable if you'd like a wired connection. You also get an extra empty cap, so to speak. This one pops off and you'll notice a bit of a difference. Just a G versus more of the same glide pattern that you get at the bottom of the mouse. So you're just going to have to use them and figure out which one you like more. You can turn it on with that. But a lot of surface area to glide around. It is really light, so it lives up to its name of super light. A quick close-up of the mouse with a scroll wheel. I like the accent on the wheel. It has some grip to it. Right and left buttons, and just again, closer look at that bottom surface on the mouse. On the front is that connector to charge it up. And of course, you do get a dongle to wirelessly connect your Pro X. And our setup is all ready to go. We are on the home screen. We've got our keyboard and mouse all set up. It's just really clean, honestly. I love the black and white accent. And you know, this is a great build if you're not looking for any crazy RGB lights on the inside. It's just, you know, it's a solid build that's working how it should. So now that our new PC is all built, ready to go, looks pretty clean. Again, nothing too flashy. It's connected to our 1440p, 144 hertz monitor. Really want to do some testing and check it out and push it with some other games. First of all, I have to say the cooling of this PC does a really good job. That case is doing an excellent job with that underside cooling and those fans that I've installed. All right, and as promised, I do have some games installed. Let's do some testing of this new PC. Now, to me, the sweet spot of gaming is 1440p. It looks better than 1080, and you can get more frames than you can on 4K. Now, realistically, in the higher end games, you're not gonna be able to push 240 frames per second, so 240 hertz isn't necessary. But on some of the other games, you know, CS2 and even Rocket League pushed about 300 plus frames, which again is way more than you actually need considering the refresh rate of your monitor. And with that 1440p resolution, colors look really good. Everything is really smooth. It's not dropping any frames. But then when you go ahead and push it to the higher end games, maybe say Fortnite, new season just came out, or Apex Legends, you're going to get less frames per second at that 1440p resolution. So with my testing, I could push 144 frames per second on Apex Legends, and just under that with Fortnite, maybe around 130 average frames per second. So they look great. They take full advantage of my 1440p 144 hertz monitor. Also, real quick, really love this mouse. So if you are interested, again, link down below, but this mouse is excellent. And like I said, be sure to use the coupons I will post in the description. The exclusive one down below is all on AE. You get $25 off $100 from November 11th to November 17th for the Singles Day. Again, links to everything in the description below. Remember, AliExpress is having their Singles Day sale from November 11th to November 17th, and quantities are limited, so they'll go fast. Make sure you check early within the Singles Day sale. Best time to shop at AliExpress. They're having their biggest sale of the year. So again, all links down in the description of the video below. This build is a definite go. Really happy with the performance that it has. And, you know, again, more clean style. Be sure to drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Be sure to subscribe as well. A lot more content coming soon. As always, thanks for watching.